Welcome back to Star Trek Online, everybody. I'm your host, the Housecoat Gamer. Today we're taking a look at the infamous Crossfield-Class in a redo of my review, mostly because I can update things. The Crossfield, in a different form, was first seen during the original reveal trailer for Star Trek Discovery back during 2016, I believe it was. 2016, 2015? And had a much different form. While there were dips, there were no cutouts in the saucer section. The nacelles were shorter and protruded more forwards. And I would have killed to have a version of that skin available in STO. Would have been nice. Instead, we don't have that, and we're stuck with this abomination. Now, I've already stated how the mycelial thing doesn't really work. Doesn't make any sense. Especially given the whole multiverse self-destruction thing. It's like nobody brushed up on multiverse theory. Anyway, I finally got my hands on this thing thanks to the Mud Bundle. The primary faction bundle, that is. From the Mud Store. There's a choice of 4 there. 4 ships. The Jem'Hadar strike ship, which I don't need since I have access to the other one. I think the Recon one? Account-wide? As well as the Legendary, which, again. The Crossfield, which I've also got. The Romulan Warbird from Picard, Season 1 and Season 3. Someone's gonna have to get me a pronunciation guide on that, because... And the obvious moronic one, the Sarcophagus. I will detail my grievances on those in those reviews. Fortunately, I don't have to deal with that, thanks to the legendary version of this particular boat. Now, much better. I hate orange nacelle caps. Now, let's give this thing a... nobody's gonna notice the deflector dish anyways. Now, we're not on my STD tune. This happens to be why we're not on my STD tune. I now have access to this thanks to a sale. Now, let's compare this thing stat-wise to its counterpart. Now, the Legendary obviously has 1 less aft weapon slot and cannot mount can't mount dual cannons. It does, however, have pure temporal seating. It has secondary command, but it is most definitely a temporal starship. While the ship is intel biased with secondary temporal leanings. I suppose that means I'm going to be using a temporal slot with this one and secondary tactical. Well, the other one's going to be intelligence tactical. This one's going to be pure temporal. Now, the concept of this is dumb. the mycelial ambush thing. Jumping into a mushroom universe, then jumping back out. A simple subspace FTL jump akin to Battlestar Galactica would be just fine. Because functionally it works. You jump ahead 8 kilometers, you fire a couple of torpedo spreads. You get the general idea. The Starship trait creates duplicates of you for 3 seconds. If you use beam overload, cannon rapid fire, or any bridge officer intelligence ability. However, the trait is kind of useless for me on this ship because, thanks to the legendary, I kind of already have it, as well as Terran machinations. So that kind of defeats the point. However, while the legendary defeats the point of getting the Starship trait, the legendary version is inferior to the original, which is both depressing and amusing in its own odd way. Which is the only reason I ever wanted to get my hands on this thing. It has the superior stats to the legendary. That said, this is only second best, while the legendary is ironically at the bottom of the barrel. Its counterpart, the Mirror Crossfield, arguably takes first place, because this thing is a murder boat. You can easily ignore all science and go full tactical ordnance. You get the idea. This thing is designed to do one thing and one thing only: kill everything. Science is a secondary concern. This thing is a destroyer. And probably the best we're going to get a real interpretation, well, a real representation of how the Glenn class could operate in the actual series instead of MMORPG logic. I mean, they're good boats, but as for why I said that the legendary is bottom of the barrel, there are 4 variants of this ship, one of which being the 32C variant, which swaps out one of those tactical consoles for an engineering console. Now, I know some of you are going to be going, you don't have the ship, you don't have the right to say that. I've seen the stats for the damn thing. All it does is include a Deploy Quajon Frigate console. The Starship trait I have no idea about, but that's irrelevant. The only difference between this thing and the 32C version, well, functionally anyway, is swapping over the tactical console for an engineering and adding a cloaking device, because the console you can just easily remove. It has no real differences. So, 32C, as far as I'm concerned, is third place. This takes second. Mirror takes first. The irony of the whole thing. Because usually mirror ships take last place. But is this thing worth getting? Now, obviously, I T6X'd this thing, though I did that long ago. As you are well aware, I have a standard Crossfield on my STD tune, which I got in a trade for a awful lot of upgrades. Now that is no longer necessary. You can actually, get rid of the ship and reclaim it again and again and again. Which kind of makes the whole thing pointless in its own bizarre way. Moving on, however, it's good for science operations, and it's better than the legendary. That said, I would still get the legendary, because you don't get the Glen skin. Now I know STD fans are going to be clamoring to get this thing, because, well, for some reason or another, they actually like this pizza cutter abomination. Me, I will stick to the Glen, because the Glen makes sense, because it's a 25th century starship. The Crossfield does not. For an engineering standpoint, 25C makes more sense for a cutout in the saucer section. After all, the Scrayer does it. Which is why I've often said that the Scrayer is one of the inspirations for the Crossfield. And now it's gone full circle. Anyway, this ship is nothing short of disappointing. At least, Discovery is coming to an end. And we will never have to deal with it ever again. Still, stat-wise, it's tolerable. But only if you spec it tactically. The mirror version is still best, because it outright turns it into an escort. Housecoat Gaming, signing off.